Kumiho. She looks like a beautiful woman. She has been looking like a beautiful woman for a very long time. A fox that survives 1,000 years becomes a Kumiho. 9 tails, perfect face. The ability to transform into anything she chooses. She chooses women most often, because that is what works. The Kumiho of Korean mythology is unlike its Chinese and Japanese cousins. The kitsune can be benevolent, the hulijing can help. The Kumiho, almost never. In the Compendium of Korean Oral Literature, the encyclopedic collection of Korean folk tales, the Kumiho's role is consistent. Demoness, predator, the thing wearing a human face that is not human. She eats livers. This is specific and deliberate. In traditional Korean belief, the liver was the seat of life energy, the organ that processed food and gave the body its working force. To eat someone's liver was to consume their life itself. Some tales describe her haunting cemeteries at night, digging up graves, taking what she needs from the dead before moving to the living. There is one path to becoming human, 1,000 days without eating human flesh. Some stories say she can do it. Most say she cannot. The hunger is too old, too deep. The Kumiho's most dangerous quality is not her claws or her 9 tails. It is that she looks exactly like someone you would trust, like a bride, like a neighbor, like whoever you most want to see. In Transformation of the Kumiho, she replaces a bride at a wedding. Not even the bride's mother notices. She is discovered only when her clothes are removed. The fox face is always there, underneath. Imugi, it has been waiting for 1,000 years. The Imugi is a proto-dragon, a serpent of immense size, hundreds of meters long, python-like, dwelling in rivers and lakes and deep caves. It is not yet a dragon. It is everything a dragon will be, minus one thing, the Yeoju. The Yeoju is a heavenly orb, a luminous bead of perfect shape that falls from the sky. If an Imugi can catch a Yeoju as it falls, it transforms instantly. The serpent becomes a dragon. The creature that has waited 1,000 years in cold water finally ascends. If it misses, it starts over. Some versions of the legend say the Imugi are cursed dragons, fully formed celestial beings who were denied their final transformation through no fault of their own. Waiting, patient, unable to complete what they already are. Korean folk mythology says that most true dragons were once Imugi. Every dragon you see in the sky was once a serpent at the bottom of a lake, watching the sky for a bead that might never fall. Villagers considered seeing an Imugi good luck. The sighting of such a vast creature, patient in the water for centuries, moving slowly through its long wait, was seen as a sign of blessing. I find that specific kind of reverence worth sitting with. A being that has not yet become what it is meant to be, and the tradition says the sight of it is fortunate, not what it will become, what it is now. In the waiting, there is something in that. Dokkaebi, it was not born, it was made. A Dokkaebi forms from an object that has absorbed human blood, an old broom, a discarded inkstone, a rusted tool forgotten in a corner for decades. When enough time passes and enough human contact accumulates in the object, something stirs inside it, and a Dokkaebi emerges. It carries a club, the Dokkaebi bangmangi. With it, the Dokkaebi can summon any object it wants. Food, gold, anything. It loves to wrestle. It challenges humans to wrestling matches regularly, and it plays fair mostly. If you win, the Dokkaebi rewards you generously. If you lose, it takes what it wants and leaves. It also loves alcohol, and riddles, and company. The Dokkaebi is mischievous but not malicious. It pranks, it disrupts, it shows up uninvited and causes chaos that somehow resolves into something useful. But do not mistake the playfulness for safety. The Dokkaebi has a temper. It remembers insults. It keeps grudges across generations. Villages that wronged a Dokkaebi found out years later, in ways they did not expect. There is one weakness. The Dokkaebi is frightened of a rooster's crow. When the rooster calls at dawn, the Dokkaebi vanishes. A creature made from human discarded things, animated by accumulated contact with human life, disappearing at the flight of an ordinary morning. The Dokkaebi is what happens when humans forget that objects remember. Gwisin. Not every Gwisin is dangerous. Most of them just want something. A Gwisin is the spirit of a person who died before their business was finished. They died with unresolved attachment to a person, a place, a grief, a wrong that was never addressed. And so they did not pass on. They remain. The Gwisin are the water ghosts, the spirits of those who drowned. They appear near rivers and lakes with long, wet hair covering their faces. They are not hunting. They are not chasing. They are simply there, near the water where they died, waiting for something. The Gwisin have no face at all, a smooth blank where features should be. They appear suddenly in front of someone who has wronged them. They do not speak. They do not move. They simply look at you with nothing. The Gwisin live in bathrooms. This one is documented across Korean folklore for centuries. The spirit of someone who died in a moment of maximum vulnerability, inhabiting the space in the home where humans are most defenseless. You are supposed to announce yourself before entering a bathroom at night. Not to be polite, to warn whatever might be inside that you are coming. Korean tradition holds a specific understanding of what makes a ghost dangerous. It is not power, it is incompletion. The Gwisin is frightening, not because it is evil, but because it is unfinished. It is a person who could not leave because no one performed the right rituals, observed the right mourning, said the right words. The living failed the dead, and the dead stayed to make sure someone noticed. Haetae, it stands outside the palaces of Seoul. Stone statues, thick body covered in scales, lion's head with curling horns, eyes open, watching. They have stood there for centuries, outside gates and government buildings and royal residences, through every dynasty and every war. The Haetae is the official symbol of Seoul. A city of 10 million people chose a mythological creature as its emblem, not because it was gentle, because it was just. The Haetae could look at a person and know whether they were guilty. It could see moral character directly. It punished the wicked and protected the innocent. Korean tradition placed it near the seats of power specifically because those were the places most in need of a being that could not be bribed, flattered, or deceived. It also protected against fire. In traditional Korean architecture, Haetae statues were placed at the corners of important buildings to ward off conflagration. Gwanghwamun Gate in Seoul has a pair. The palaces have multiple. Everywhere that fire was most feared, the Haetae watched. Some Korean scholars connect the Haetae to the ancient Chinese Jie, a similar creature of justice that could discern guilt. The tradition predates the Joseon dynasty by centuries, a guardian that can see through lies, placed at the entrance to power, watching everyone who enters and everyone who leaves. If the Haetae is still there now, watching, then every politician who walks through those gates walks past a creature that Korean tradition says can see exactly what they are. Something worth thinking about. Cheollima, no one has ever caught one. The Cheollima, the 1,000-ri horse, is a creature so fast it can cover 1,000 ri in a day. A ri is approximately 400 meters. 1,000 ri is roughly 400 kilometers. In a single day, running, it is described as a magnificent celestial horse. It lives in the sky. It rarely descends. And when it does not stop long enough to be ridden by someone who is not worthy. The legend says that the Cheollima cannot be ridden by ordinary people. Not because it refuses to be caught, but because it is simply too fast for anyone unworthy to keep up with, let alone mount. One story describes a man who found a Cheollima resting. He approached. He had a saddle made of weeds, the only material available to him. He managed to get the saddle on before the horse rose. He rode it, briefly, then fell. He was deemed unworthy not because he failed, but because the saddle was wrong. The preparation was insufficient for the opportunity. In modern Korea, the Cheollima became a symbol of rapid development. North Korea adopted the image after the Korean War to represent the pace of reconstruction. South Korea used it for economic growth. A mythological horse no one has ever caught, became the symbol of a nation rebuilding itself at impossible speed. The Cheollima is what speed looks like when it is also a standard of worthiness, not just how fast you move, whether you deserve to move that fast. Samjoko, 3 legs. That is the first thing. The 3-legged crow lives in the sun. Its wings are spread. It does not blink. It sees everything. The Samjoko appears in murals inside the tombs of Goguryeo kings, painted on walls that are over 1,500 years old. The 3 Kingdoms period. The kings of the most powerful Korean state wanted this creature on the walls of their burial chambers. Not a human figure, Not a royal portrait, a three-legged crow inside a sun. In East Asian tradition, the three-legged crow represents the sun itself. It is the sun's eye, the principle that nothing can be hidden from the light. Samjoko sees everything that happens under the sky. In Korea, the Samjoko was specifically royal. It represented supreme power. The kings of Goguryeo claimed association with it. To rule under the Samjoko was to rule under the eye of something that could not be deceived. It is not a demon. It is not a monster. It is the sun watching. But the crow is also the bird of the boundary between living and dead. In Korean tradition, crows are associated with the spirit world, with the crossing between what exists and what has ended. A solar creature with a death bird's body, the thing that lights the world, wearing the shape of the thing that feeds after the light goes out. The Samjoko is the sun's eye in a crow's body. It sees everything. It misses nothing. That is either reassuring or terrifying, depending entirely on what you have done. Korean mythology built something that no other mythology built in exactly the same way. Every creature here contains a specific kind of attention. The Kumiho watches your face and learns what you want. The Imugi watches the sky for a bead of light that may never fall. The Dokkaebi watches to see if you will remember what you have discarded. The Gwisin watches to see if anyone will finally perform the ritual that would let them leave. The Haetae watches the morally guilty. The Samjoko watches everything from inside the sun. Korean mythology is as full of creatures that are watching, not hunting, not attacking, watching. And the tradition understood something that level of attention implies. That being seen is not the same as being safe. That there are beings in the world that know exactly what you are, that have always known, and are deciding what to do about it.